Oh, what is this? I hear something behind me. Oh, what's up, man? Hey, how's it going? It's a Grom. I e-swapped it, so it'll do like, I don't know, about 100. Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. I make electric swaps for them. That's dope. Yeah. That'd be like a perfect little, like, computer for like a college kid. Oh, dude, I love it. I'm turning right here. So I just swapped it to 3 just to show this guy what it's about. But yeah, it's a blast. But that's what I'm talking about. That exact camaraderie to be able to like hang out with people. Thank you, man. And like this dude's on a big bike. Like he asked me if it was a Navi. Guys, it's done. Finally, the SF electric Grom swap is done. I am so excited about this. We have the fuchsia, all the carbon bits are on it. It's officially a whole bike now. So we're gonna get out on our first official longer ride and just see what it's all about, because I've only done some quick runarounds around the block here just to get a good idea on setting my speedometer and making sure the miles per hour is right. So we're gonna get on it and we're gonna have a blast. Let's do this. Oh, key it on. Silence. That's the one thing about electric. You do not hear the pump prime, which is very different. But put this out of park and let's get to it. I have it set on speed 1 right now because I want to see more so on distance how it actually does. Oh, it's so awesome. It's so awesome. And that chain, I love the chain drive. So I changed it on the E-Ruck. It's a belt drive geared to 4.5 ratio. So it's pretty tall. It's very, very fast. And on this build, I wanted to shorten that a ton because I don't need to go that fast. I mean, that's the joy of electric, is you're going to go fast regardless, but I wanted to be able to actually have a kind of wider band of power, if that makes sense. And so with this, we geared it to 3.57, which is significantly less, 20 to 30%. So in theory, that should directly correlate to a longer charge, so longer mileage, because the gearing ratio is lower, thus lowering your RPM. And what's really cool is the way these bikes are set up is I have a speed range 1 through 3 and then a super mode. A super is like all the battery current you can possibly throw at it based on whatever tune we have it set at. And 1 being the lowest. So what's nice is I can set it to 1 as I am in now, and it will peak output about 10,000 watts or 10 kilowatts. That thing's pretty sweet. And with that, it allows me to make sure that I physically cannot get on it more than the bike will allow me, which is kind of nice because part of having good battery life in this thing is not always ripping on it. And even so, like right there, I'm already up to 45, no problem. So you don't really need it if you're just riding around town. But I'll tell you what, this first ride out, it feels real good. Real good. The chain makes a really nice whining sound. It reminds me of a supercharger wind-up. I know that sounds really played out, but it really does. It's hard to explain, but it winds out in a beautiful kind of higher pitched noise. I really like the feedback over the E-Ruck. The Ruckus is great, don't get me wrong. It is cool to have a complete silence while you ride, but the feedback is very nice coming from riding anything on the road motorcycle-wise. If you guys are new here, thanks for joining. If you've already seen a bunch of our videos, you already know kind of why I built this the way I did, but we definitely built this with a very low profile, low to the ground look, and I did that on purpose. I know a lot of people are like, hey, that's really dumb, and I agree. It's not really my first choice in what I want to do. However, in selling kits, I needed to test this to an extreme and know 100% that even when I slam the suspension, because there are people out here that prefer this slammed ride, will it fit? And I can definitively say it will, and that to me was paramount in allowing the sale of kits, because then I can say it's applicable to anyone that would want it. Now I will say the lowdown forks for the Ruckus, it will work, but it's going to be even lower than this. I wouldn't recommend it. These are stock length Ruckus forks, so you have about 2 inches of clearance. The nice thing is, you can't tell from video or photo, but I have a completely factory lean angle. So I can squish the suspension, lean, I still have about 1 inch of clearance. Is that a lot? Absolutely not. And a lot of people wouldn't be comfortable with that. And that's fine. but just to maintain that I would never put something out that's going to put somebody in harm. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm selling something, I'm not trying to kill somebody. I don't want that on my conscience. I don't want that for them and their family. So that's not going to happen. Man, it feels so good to get back out, finally shake off all the depression, or at least have less depression than I've had over the winter. It's something about that first ride. We took all the bikes out of the garage today, and the first startup, it just everything smells a lot more. All the stock Groms and stuff, everything smells super, I don't know, fuel. You just smell a ton of fuel, and you're like, ah, this is the best smell ever. So even right there, a quick 50 roll, it's very seamless. I know when I posted this build up in some of the Grom groups, a lot of guys, you know, everyone wants to hate in different ways, and I get it. Everyone likes their own thing. This is definitely much lower than most people would like, and obviously that's easy to hate on. As far as the electric conversion for a Grom, whether that's the SF, OG, or Gen 3, it's so nice to just have the around town aspect and the silence and the torque. It's a blast. So, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, why would I want that bike if it's only 60 or so miles? And that's fair. That's a great argument. And my response to that would be, if it's your only bike, maybe it's not for you, right? It's not for everybody, and I wouldn't try to push that on everybody, but if it's, say, a second bike, or maybe you guys want something that just screams power over range, that's 100% where I would lean you, is to go electric. But as far as your single bike, I mean, I personally don't know that I would do that. I think I ride too far with friends if I want to go out for a whole day and have, 6-7 hours worth of riding. It's just not feasible. I could slap a 150 amp hour battery on this and it still would cap me out at 160, 170 miles, which might be enough for some people, but even myself, I can do that no problem in a day. I mean, 300-400 miles, we can do that and it's fine. A lot of validity to that. The type of person that would want this kind of build already understands why. I wouldn't have to necessarily explain it to them. Oh, another thing, website is up. Super cool. So it's still archaic. I still have to work out a few kinks and stuff, but I do have the website up, 3cminiworks.com. Woo! And I'm in the process of loading up the bikes there as well. This thing is so fun. I do have Regen set up, so all of our e-kits will come with Regen braking. And what that means is whenever you apply the brake, either lever, because it's wired up on both sides, even if you're not running a brake, the brake force gets measured in the controller 0 to 5 volts. And depending on how far you depress that... Oh no, it's so dusty down here. Not a chance. I have to turn around. Not gonna happen. I just washed this thing. No way in hell. So backtracking story time. The 0 to 5 volts tells the controller that it wants to then charge the battery based on how much you're compressing that brake lever. It works off of the deceleration of the mid-drive motor that I have on it and helps store some of that moving kinetic energy back into the battery, which really is nice because what it does is it allows for city riders. Like, I almost exclusively ride 55s and kind of higher speed roadways, but city riders that do a lot of braking, you're going to see more range because you're converting all of that energy, which is really cool. It's so fun. And I'm just ecstatic with how these kits came out. The smooth black powder coat finish over the whole entire brackets really finishes it off. It makes it look like a nice polished unit. They're just really nice quality, and I'm very, very proud of them. And I know other people will be too. If you guys have been watching any of our other videos, you'll already know that I'm working on the OG and the Gen 3s, but the Gen 3 bike specifically, I'm going to have that at the Smoky Mountain Small Bore Rally so that everyone can ride it as a demo bike. So it's going to be really fun to to let people witness what electric's like. I know some people that I've already spoke with, they're like, yeah, that's sweet, I know it, I've rode Surons, that kind of thing. But a lot of the world still hasn't even touched electric, and let me tell you, if you don't know already, I drink the Kool-Aid. You should drink it with me. Drink the electric Kool-Aid. It's a good time. It's been so fun having the different builds to just throw one up on the lift, do something, take it off, put the other one up, and just one thing after another. It's been awesome, and I appreciate I can't say his name, but somebody shipped me their OG from the other side of the US up here to Ohio to allow me to prototype on. And that was super awesome of them. And likewise, you know, they're getting a deal, but likewise helps me make sure that everything works. And, you know, I did my research before I actually offered that to him. But what I found out is that the OG and the SF actually share the same motor mount points. So there's a lot of points on the frame itself that are different because the plastics bolt up a lot differently. But the actual motor mounting points for the bracketry is all the same. There's a couple little differences with how I have to make the front hangers and little things like that, but nothing that the fabrication of side of that went really, really smooth, thankfully. So couldn't ask for anything better of that. Let's see if I get pulled over here in Norton. Every time I ride through here, I swear I get profiled. The first time I ever went out on the EGrom or ERuck, God, I always mix them up. The first time I ever got the ERuck out, I brought it down here to Ace Hardware because I needed a bolt to build one of the other bikes. Oh man, I got pulled over my first ride out, and it was funny. I pulled up under the overhang at Ace, so obviously you're not supposed to park there anyway, but there was kind of a threat of rain, and I really wasn't having it. It's first time out on the ERuck, and, you know, I was proud of it, didn't want it to get wet, and so I pulled under this thing, turned off my camera, and at that time, I was still new to learning how exactly to video things, so turned off my camera, and I turned around, and the cop was right there, parked on underneath the overhang with me, and just like, hey man, what's up? And he was super cool and let me go and stuff. He was just saying he didn't see my plate, and rightfully so, because I did tuck it under there, but he was really cool about it. And then I frantically went back to the camera and was like, loop record, loop record. Well, what I didn't know is that when you're loop recording, it has to already be set to loop recording, or else it's not going to actually, like, I can't just power it on and press loop recording and it's going to magically process the last 3 minutes of video. So it has to already be doing that. So, case, lesson learned. That's okay. Oh, yeah, it's something about that whine. It's so nice. If you can imagine a stock Grom without the exhaust, right? It's unimaginable because all we ever think about is when we get on our Groms is the noise of rumbling hornets just coming after the world and pissing off everybody, which honestly it doesn't bother me, but if you can imagine your bike without that exhaust noise and you just hear the chain, it's really cool. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Really neat experience. Oh, I did get one of those brake light things for my helmet. I am not sponsored by them. However, it is super cool. So whenever you decel, it automatically detects the like G's. I don't even pretend to know how it works, but it just magically knows when you're decelerating, and then it illuminates the back of the helmet, and it's very bright. So it's really nice on these electrics that you can actually have people see your brake lights, especially knowing that I kind of tuck mine away a little bit. And safety first says, hey, let's let people know that you're slowing down so you don't die, especially since they can't hear you. So that's how we arrived at that. But yeah, really happy with it. I have it put on my helmet now, and I don't think I'm ever going to have it off because it's just, you don't notice it's there. It's really light. It's called Brake Free. If you guys are interested, I'll link it below. But I think it's like $100 or something. And they last a long time. I charged it up maybe an hour, and it says that it lasts 8 to 10 hours. So, you know, that's a full day of riding, which is pretty awesome. Oh man, that was a little bit of a hole. Yeah, you gotta watch out for these potholes in this bike. A lot of people did bring that up, like, hey, don't kill yourself. And I agree. I enjoy life. I don't want to die. So with this bike being so low, I definitely do have to watch. But normal potholes really only go an inch, inch and a half. And even that seems like it's huge. But, you know, on this, I still have a 2-inch clearance. So it should be fine. I'll know it. Yeah, I'll know it if I hit. Let me tell you. But I do not think I will. Actually, this would be a good point. I'll go ahead and get off the bike, kind of walk around, show you guys what it's all about. I think these guys are out of school now, so it's not going to be super creepy if I go here. I'm not trying to get in trouble for hanging out at a school. Mini bike and grown-ass guy. That's the fun thing about these bikes. I don't care who you are, how tiny, how big you are. You could be a grown-ass man on these bikes, and they're just a riot. Like, it does not matter. We all know that my size, roundabouts, and bigger, any adult on a Grom, we look silly, and that's okay, because part of that is it doesn't matter what we look like. Oh man, it does not matter. It's so fun. Tell you what, if you guys have never had carbon fiber panels, do not get them. They suck. I would never wish this upon my worst enemy. Don't get me wrong, they look sweet. They look awesome, but nothing lines up. You gotta cut, you gotta drill, you gotta... Oh, it took me way too long. I went ahead and did a time lapse of moving my panels and putting the carbon fiber on. I'm going the wrong way, but that's okay because I'm tiny. I went ahead and did a time lapse of moving my panels over, and I spent the better part of like 4 hours swapping all these panels, and I largely debated if I even wanted to use them because it pissed me off so much. So much. Yeah, I would never wish this. And things just don't fit the same. And it makes sense. Carbon fiber as a whole is kind of largely all hand done. You can't really, I mean, you can mass produce it, but it's not nearly what you're thinking. So we put 10 miles on right there, and I don't think my battery gauge even moves, so that's cool. All right, let's hop off, and I'll walk around for you guys. Woo. So nice. So yeah, we did the NCY Ruckus stock length forks up front. If you were to do the lowdown forks, you can do it, but you have to either run a different headlight or not run the fender. And you can even see here, I made the mistake before I modified it. That was a really expensive mistake. But I put the PPF tape on top just to help with that. I no longer hit it, but I'm sure if I hit like something really, really hard, it might. But yeah, those are the Ruckus forks. Really happy with how they ride. They're super stiff, but I like that style, especially with this being so low. I don't want it to have a bunch of give. And then obviously the fuchsia panels. I did hot bodies carbon all the way around. This was kind of cool. I think that these are just kind of a cheap Amazon rip, but this is probably my favorite part of the bike, honestly. I don't need fuel, so I put a little storage tank in here. There's $5. So in case all my friends are at the gas station getting fuel, I'll just pop that open and go get myself a snack. Because what's life without snacks? If you're wondering at this point, why would you ever need snacks while you're riding? Well, it's because I have kids, and that's all I ever do is snacks. So if you're if you're a dad, you get it. Snacking all the time. Orange wires, phase wires from the QS motor. I largely debated shrouding those, but I kind of like the orange showing through. It kind of is like a, hey, what is that? Because anytime you see orange, you know it's electric. Chimera stretch. I did a minimal stretch, but something that I know I won't pop up the front, which is nice. Brembo's front and rear. Monkey rear sets, everything powdered black, obviously. Racing Bros Shicane rear shock. And 50-tooth rear, I went ahead and ran, I think that's a 14 up front. It could be 13, I can't remember, but it's 3.57 is the overall ratio. So did do a Chimera rear relocation bracket for the kickstand. This is really nice. So when I lean this, granted this isn't loaded, but when I lean this over, like that clearance is awesome. Like you can see, there's my peg. Your kickstand normally is the first thing to go when you're super low, so really happy with that. But yeah, that's the quick walk around. So thankful to finally get it out and just out on the road. EGrom, of course. Yeah, she's beautiful. She is beautiful. All right, let's get back into it. And it's something about the first ride out. Just always got you worried for whatever reason. I mean, I went over this bike a million times. I torque everything. I'm that weird guy that likes torque specs. I know a lot of people are like, why would you torque stuff? Well, it's because I enjoy, again, going back to enjoying life. I don't want to die. And if I die, let me rephrase that. I know I'm going to die, but if I die because of something stupid that I did, I'm going to be pissed, if I could be pissed. So I'm going to make sure that it is not because I didn't tighten a freaking bolt. All right, let's go this way. I don't know where we're going. We're largely just cruising around, putting some miles on, testing things out. Torture test, look at all that. Patch the roads, patch the roads. Bump, 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 bump. The nice thing with changing this gear ratio, I was really worried that 3.5 was going to be too short. Because what that ultimately does is it makes you a lot higher end. So I could estimated, I have to take this to the strip and test everything and do some high-speed runs, but estimated top speed on this should be about 105 with the current tune. I don't ever want to do 105. I'm being honest. I have no aspirations to go fast. Anything over 85, I'm good. I'm good. But, you know, everyone always asks about top speed numbers and that. So with that, in going 105, you obviously lose a lot of the lower end because you're essentially transferring that low end acceleration to top end speed. Because this is a single speed motor, it's got, what's up guys? It's got one gear. You can't shift. So whatever gear you pick, you're stuck in it. So I was really worried that that 3.5 was going to be too sluggish. And the butt dyno says that it is not. I do not actually notice much of a difference. Now, the interesting part is this is a chain drive. The Ruckus is a belt. So my debate would be, does the belt give enough that it's going to, I guess, make that not noticeable? But I definitely do think on this, the power band feels much more linear. These motors pretty much max out. I mean, you could rev them out farther than 6,500, but factory settings say don't go past 65, and pretty much up to 4,000 RPM is your peak torque values. So the goal with this build was to be able to be in that peak torque value at normal 45 and 55 mile an hour speed ranges, because then it allows me to have the power to move easily, but also make sure that I lower that RPM for longer range, because ultimately I wanted this to be a range-based bike. The Ruckus is really fast, and this is too, but it's very different. The speed is just a lot more spread out, and I really like that. It feels more tame. I don't know, I kind of liken the Ruckus to the girl you just met that you want to take home, and this is the one you want to marry. So, to each their own, they're both very, very fun in different ways. I hope you guys have gotten into some things and built some stuff or added some stuff to your bikes over the winter. If you have, let me know in the comments. Always enjoy hearing what other people are working on. And it's really cool what this platform has allowed me to do. And I'm just a small channel, right? I only have 2,000 subscribers, which is honestly really good. I'm super happy about that. But it's still a drop in the bucket for how many people are out in the world riding. And what it allows me to do is connect with those people and just kind of make those relationships and hear stories, and it's really fun. I really love it, and help people. That ultimately was the goal in making this. So to document what I'm doing, help people do their things. And the community, man, I just love the community when it comes to small bikes, or just any bike. But compared to cars, everything was so toxic. And granted, that was, what, 10 years ago or so, but since I've been in cars, but it's just a very different group of people. Oh, what is this? I hear something behind me. Oh, what's up, man? Hey, how's it going? It's a Grom. I e-swapped it, so it'll do like, I don't know, about 100. Yeah. Yeah. I make electric swaps for them. Yeah. Oh, dude, I love it. I'm turning right here. So I just swapped it to 3 just to show this guy what it's about. But yeah, it's a blast. But that's what I'm talking about. That exact camaraderie to be able to like hang out with people. Thank you, man. And like this dude's on a big bike. Like he asked me if it was a Navi. So like, you know, he doesn't really care, but he appreciates that I'm a rider just like him. And it's just cool to run into that stuff. I wish I had a card and be like, hey, here's the channel, but I don't pimp it out enough. But that interaction is so wholesome. Oh, I love it. I live for it. He's like, it's electric? You know, and that's the problem with this bike, or just any e-swap that I've built, is having the gear select right there that you can change it. And what I say by gear, it's not an actual gear, but it allows you to pick your current ranges. So I'm just like, hey, I'll just switch it to 3 really quick and just show him it pulls a little bit. And and so I can't keep out of it long enough to actually get a good varying for the range on it. So I immediately switched it back to 1, and here we are. just kind of riding around just to see. But oh man, the camaraderie. There is nothing like it on a motorcycle. The dude asked if it was a Navi. I cannot get over that. But I'm ignorant to what people that ride actual bikes think of small bore community. So apparently, if this is indicative of the entire community, everyone thinks everyone rides Navis. That's awesome. How wholesome though, dude. I love it. I will say a big problem with this, the electric builds, is because they're so silent, it is easy to speed. We've all had that newer car where it's like, oh yeah, this thing gets it, and you don't even realize it. Well, that's what this does. And by the time you realize you're speeding, it's a problem. So I have to constantly look down. And I don't know if you guys can see this very well. This speedometer is very, very dim. I need to tilt it up because basically how I'm seated right now and leaned forward, I almost have to lean back to actually see it. So a lot of times if you guys see me kind of rocking throughout the video, that's why. Because I just want to make sure I don't get pulled over. I actually have a surprisingly clean record. I don't like to do things that are against the law. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to get it and go fast every now and again, but it's, I don't want a ticket. I don't want my insurance to go up. Things are great. I have like, 6 bikes now, and it costs me like $300 a year to full-time insure all of them. So like, yeah, no brainer. I don't want that to go up. It is really nice just to be in speed 1 because it allows you just to twist and go and know that you can have full range up to about, I don't know, I'd say it'd go to like 60 or so easily. So it allows you to not really pull over that too much and still save a bunch of battery. This initial run, I have a 48 amp hour battery in this. I have a 60 amp on the way, and that is what I'm building the OG with as well. So again, when we talk about amp hour, if you're not familiar with electrical world, amp hour is basically stored energy of the battery. So in theory, the higher amp hour number that you have, the more stored battery juice you have in that battery to use. So when I talk about having a 48 amp battery and then going to a 60, that is increasing battery size by 25%, which directly translates to mileage. So I know that if I can go, say, 60 miles on this, that if I add the 60 amp hour battery under the same conditions, now obviously this varies based on your riding preferences and whoever has the kit, but under my exact conditions with the 25% increase, that will directly translate to a 25% increase in mileage. So instead of the 60 miles that I would be getting on the 48 amp hour battery, I could then expect 75, which is another 25% over 60. So I really think that with the 60 amp hour though, without testing, I don't know offhand, but off of my calculations and the lower gear ratio, I really think a 60 amp hour can get me 80, 90 miles if I'm not beating on it. And that is just straight riding. Like right now, I'm just riding 45s, 55s, very minimal braking. So there's no regenerative property going back into the battery. I'm using all of that electric. So if I was actually stopping and going, I do think I'd see a longer range than that. I'm really excited to get the quad lock. Hopefully it fits on one of these. But I have a quad lock case that I use on all my bikes, and I really need that so I can further test in exactly everything tuning with the BMS. So these batteries have a BMS, which is a battery management system attached within them that you can Bluetooth to your phone, that you can then see your current output, your amperage, your battery life, your just all the pertinent information you would want to know to make sure everything's being safe, your temperatures. And I directly use that to see current draw so that I can see kind of in tuning. And also, if I have it mounted, I can then compare speed with my speedometer. I was holding my phone, no joke, I was holding my phone yesterday doing 45, hit a pothole, immediately dropped my phone and grabbed my handlebars because, again, my phone is less important than my life. And I watched the phone topple. So this is a testament, again, not an ad, to how awesome quad lock cases are. I dumped my phone at like 45-ish and watched it roll, went about 100 foot from where I was, picked it back up, and phone's great. Phone is great. But having the quad lock will allow me to compare speeds because really I've only done speedometer checks up to that 45 or so. And sometimes with electrical motors, they're not true. Even if I did like 0 to 45 and it was spot on, it may vary a little bit on the top end. So I want to try to dial that in as best I can, and then that way I know that it's 100% right for my speedometer, so I don't have to worry about speeding and stuff. I will say with the kits, all of the numbers that you go to calibrate the speedometer with vary based on your gear ratio and your tire size and a lot of different variables. So what I'll give my numbers to people who ever buy the kit just so they know kind of where to start, but a lot of that depends on exactly where your bike is and what your modifications are. But it'll give you a good ballpark just so you know. Let's talk about roundabouts. Do you guys have roundabouts where you live? Because I'll tell you, for whatever reason, people hate roundabouts. I love them. I think they're amazing. They mitigate traffic issues and largely keep people safer. I know, don't get me wrong, there are people that don't understand how to use normal traffic signals, and so roundabouts are an issue for them. But for the vast majority, it largely helps a ton in our super congested areas. But man, is it a controversial thing. Everyone gets so up in arms about putting in roundabouts places. I don't understand it. It's crazy. When you go back 10 years ago, none of this was developed. How fast things change. I mean, even kind of sound old now, but I'm what, 30, 32, 33, something like that. I don't know, one of those. And going back to like my childhood without phones, really, I mean, we had corded phones, right? And just the advance in 15, 20 years from now, it's crazy to think about when you add in AI and electric, right? With this bike is going to be, in 15 years, there's going to be some new motor technology that gets like triple the mileage, the output. Just, it's crazy. But we're living in the now, and this thing rips, so I'm happy with it. There's always people standing on corners. I don't understand it. Get a job. It's not that hard. Get a job. One thing, I do not have mirrors on this. It's my preference. Pretty illegal in most places, but I always have to look back at lights like this because, especially when it's congested, I don't like to stop left or right, which is what you're supposed to do, because somebody coming in from behind you, if they don't see you, would just smash into you and, kill you. So I always have to look around. That's why I'm kind of looking back right now, just making sure whoever comes in behind me sees me, or else I will obviously easily evade. But that's what a mirror normally does for you at a stoplight like this. So it's, my prerogative. I just don't like mirrors. I always end up punching them for whatever reason, and I think that's my handlebar height preference, just depending on where it's at. Always just blasting the mirror, and I don't know, fumbling hands everywhere I go. UPS brings me all my motorcycle parts. Woo! So, case in point, this gives you a quick, easy out if you're in the middle or the side in case somebody comes careening behind you. It's just smart to do. I know a lot of guys don't. Again, being hyper vigilant, especially on electric, is very important to me because people can't hear you. As I stated earlier, I do have the brake-free thing, which is cool, but I still don't always rely on people just seeing a light on my head knowing that I'm stopped. And I also don't know how long that stays. So like once I'm actually stopped, I don't know if my brake light actually stays on my helmet or if it just goes back to like a normal running light, which might be easy to miss for some people. I am really happy with how this is riding. No issues. I put on now about 25 miles to this point, and everything seems good. Seems nice and tight. I will say, I significantly noticed the lower weight of this. I weighed it yesterday, and it did come in without the body panels at about 3 pounds lighter than a stock Grom. And I thought for sure it would be rivaling my 300 swap in weight, which is super cool. And knowing that that weight is closer to the ground, it makes it a lot more planted. I don't know. I feel like it's easier to maneuver. It feels more solid and planted to the ground. It's a different feel. All the bikes feel very differently, but this one, just like the E-Rock, feels very planted. And I think it's because the E-Rock as well has that battery very, very low to the ground, and that's a significant amount of weight just down lower on the framing. Very successful first ride, though. Feels smooth. Again, this is speed setting 1, so not super, accelerating. And a lot of people would be like, oh, that's boring. Why would you swap it? It's not going fast. Well, that's by design because I'm just making sure everything's good. I'll do a speed run here in a couple videos once everything is 100 definitively nailed down and I don't have to worry about it. I mean, I don't think I have to worry about it now, but if something fails, I'd rather it fail at 35 and not at 90. So, just gotta stay safe. I get that us as Grom and any sort of motorcycle rider, we generally get a bad rap for doing dumb stuff. And don't get me wrong, there are people out there that do a lot of dumb stuff on these bikes, but I am not one of them. And so making sure I do things safely is important. I don't even know what speed this is, so I'm going to speed up to about 55. If you guys have not checked the build process for this bike, make sure you watch the playlist. I am very proud of this build. It was cool to go start to finish and then translate what I know onto the other bikes, the other models. Really excited for those, how they're coming along. Also, if you guys have made it this far, if you don't already know, I do send out stickers of all the bikes. This one, I don't have stickers yet, but if you guys would like stickers, shoot me an email. All I need is your address and where to send them. No, I don't spam you with emails. It's literally just free stuff because I love free stuff, so why not give those to people who like the channel? 3cmwcontent@gmail.com. Just shoot me an email, 3cmwcontent@gmail, and I'll send you guys a sticker pack because it's the least I can do to thank you guys for watching and kind of sharing the journey with me. I'm excited for all the other videos to come, and like I said with this, we're going to do a range test here, and then also a top speed test, and then I need to get this out to the drag strip. I want to compare this to the E-Ruck, the stock Grom, just to kind of show the world what exactly they can do, and mine largely are very conservatively tuned. I tune everything based on normal, I don't want to say factory specs, but I don't really go outside of the max requirements, whereas I know a lot of people, for example, the controller that comes with, say, 18 kilowatts of peak power, you could push this controller to, say, 30, but I don't like to do that because you put that in the wrong hands of people and you are going to create a massive liability. So again, going back to safety. But again, speaking in terms of conservativeness for the tune, it's still plenty fun. You don't need more, frankly. I mean, this bike, pound for pound against the 300 swap, makes the 300 swap seem boring. Like, it's just not even fun to ride the 300 versus this. So if that paints any picture for people who haven't even rode a 300, or if you have, I think that tells you really well kind of what you're getting into with these kits. So yeah, it's a great time. Drink the Kool-Aid, please. If you need some, let me know. I'll mix up a fresh batch, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a great day. Bye.